This is amazing. This actress just dies, and I almost missed it. Look at her last name, Cardinale. I'm sitting here like, how do you pronounce it, right? Claudia Cardinale. But look, you get Cardi right there, Cardi. And remember, Cardi B trending with her new album, Am I the Drama, or whatever it's called? And also Joshua Cardi with the 2 blocked field goals. Jordan Davis seals the Eagles' victory week 3 over the Rams. Jason Cardi has the 2 field goals blocked. Look at that right there. Karty, Cardi, Kardi, Cardi. Now we get the death of this actress, Cardinale. Look at that right there. I just caught that. You see how, this stuff can be right in front of your face, and I almost missed it until I saw this, because you see how they separate the Cardi right there when pronouncing it or whatever. Look at that right there. Now, look at that, makes me think of Kim Kardashian as well. This is on the fly, this part. Kim Kardashian's birthday is in less than a month. So, yeah, I bet there's another connection there with Wow, Claudia Cardinale, Kim Kardashian. There's probably a connection there as well. So that's amazing. Okay, but this actress dies. Here she is right here, dead at 87. Star of a film called 8.5 and The Leopard. And I guess we're just going with old age again. Her agent said Wednesday. Right? And then, they don't really say really anything else there other than what she's known for. Praise for Cardinale's talent, beauty, and impact on the European cinema poured in on Wednesday, with French President Emmanuel Macron saying, we French will always carry this Italian and global star in our hearts. Well, let's look him up real quick. He's got the December 21 birthday, age 47. Okay. So, man, that's amazing, isn't it? With that Cardi B, Joshua Cardi. There's been if I'm not mistaken, there was some other things that sounded like Cardi trending as well. When you look at the pronunciation here, you see how they got KK. Again, that makes you think of Kim Kardashian. But all of the K's that have been trending, Charlie Kirk, Duchess of Kent, just to name a couple, right? That's amazing. Do not get emotionally attached to these characters. I mean, it took me like freaking 36 years. Don't have no emotion towards any of these characters that they present, even if it comes to a death like this. Okay, you gotta separate your emotions. This stuff is basically just entertainment, and these are storylines. And I mean, that's an amazing connection right there. So we'll get a little bit into these movies. I'm not really going to go deep. Okay.
Claudia Cardinale, whose luminous presence made her a defining figure of European film, has died at age 87. She passed away on September 23rd, 2025 in Nemours, France, surrounded by her children, according to her agent. Born April 15, 1938 in La Goulette, Tunisia, to Sicilian parents, Cardinale first entered public consciousness when she won a beauty contest in 1957 that led her to the Venice Film Festival. Her acting career took off thereafter, and she appeared in over 100 films across Italy, France, and beyond. Her breakthrough year was 1963, when she starred in two of the most significant films of her career: Eight and a Half, directed by Federico Fellini, and The Leopard, Il Gattopardo, directed by Luchino Visconti. In The Leopard, she played Angelica Sidera, a role that cemented her place in cinematic history. She also delivered a standout performance in Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West. Throughout her career, Cardinale was admired not only for her beauty, but for her strong, independent presence on screen. She took roles that challenged stereotypes and worked with acclaimed directors across genres. In later life, she remained active in film and theater, and her contributions were honored with numerous awards, including a Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement. She is survived by her children and numerous admirers across the world. Her passing marks the end of an era, but her work endures, a testament to her talent, courage, and the many lives she.
And again, that makes you think of Kim Kardashian. Everybody can have their opinion, but they're bringing up things about Kim Kardashian. That's what makes me think again about her, right? And that pronunciation with the KK. Okay, they're talking about like beauty or whatever. Now, Kim Kardashian, I don't know why I always get like an Italian vibe with Kim Kardashian. But there's no Italian ancestry. But that's just kind of interesting, I guess. But yeah, I'm also getting the KK vibes there. Cardinal, Kardashian. That was a solid Cardi B connection too. Look at Cardi B's got the October 11 birthday. Kim Kardashian is 10 days later. Look at that. You see that? Kardashian, Cardi B. I might have to make a separate video about that because that's absolutely amazing there too. I mean, I don't try to go long on these videos, man. It just happens. So some things I noticed in the article here, how they say youthful purity right there, but she was best known for embodying youthful purity in the film Eight and a Half, in which she co-starred with Marcello Mastroianni in 63. And then look at down there, Cardinale also won praise for her role as Angelica Sidara in Luchino Visconti's award-winning screen adaptation of the historical novel The Leopard the same year, and a reformed prostitute in the movie Once Upon a Time in the West. And then look at down here, notice Cardinale began her movie career at the age of 17. That's why I showed the Diddy stuff there, Diddy and Cassie, with all of that stuff that's been trending. And, like the Epstein stories that have been hitting with the females, right? Because it's almost like there's more to the story of this character, right? Age 17, beginning her career, and then look at some of the roles, purity, and then you see playing a reformed prostitute. So it makes me think like in the future they could like twist up some of these stories that they're giving us now, kind of like, just the truth in plain sight, right? You get the Diddy and Cassie story. So I think there's more to all of these stories actually that they're covering up. But I just kind of thought about that. I think there's some kind of shadiness here. Maybe we don't know the whole story with Cardinale here, right? And again, that's just kind of, you could say that's just kind of my opinion. But I mean, I'm not the only decoding channel or truth channel that talks about this stuff, right, with young people in Hollywood. I mean, that doesn't come from me. I'm not the source of that information, okay? The stuff is well documented. You think of like Disney as well with the little ones. You know, the stories of like Justin Bieber, Usher with Diddy, right? So there may be more to this story here. Maybe we will never know, okay? So notice how she's in this film called The Leopard, and they also note 8.5. That's interesting, 8.5. But look at The Leopard right there. So when I look up The Leopard, apparently there's a release date for the Netflix series The Leopard. This isn't what she was in. She was in the film 1963, I think was the date. But this is a like kind of like a new Netflix series, but it came out in March this year, and it's The Leopard. TV miniseries premiered exclusively on Netflix. You see the cover there, Gato Pardo, however you want to say it. But when I ask how to pronounce the leopard, that's what it says right there. You see that? That's the translation. So you see the cover of that Netflix there. And there's no relation between the series, The Leopard. It's not a sequel or to or directly connected to the 1963 film version. So I just found that interesting how this mini series released this year, translating to The Leopard, and Claudia Cardinale dies now, and they say, oh, she was in The Leopard, right? Which is this different film here. Okay. Now look at that's the translation for The Leopard. You see that? Italian or whatever. I was asking Google a few different ways. That's what first popped up. Look at that right there. And you see it on the cover right there. Il Gatto Pardo, the leopard. You see that? But I was asking Google. That's the first thing that popped up. Okay, I'm not like I don't speak that language or anything, right? And I was trying to ask Google a few different ways too, and then other stuff was popping up. But you see the film cover right there. Okay, so that's it. Il Gatto Pardo. Look at when I put that in the damn Gematria calculator. 138 like Claudia. Let's check that out right there. Okay. And the capital I just looks like the little L there, but capital I, small L, Gatto Pardo. Look at that. And even Donald Trump equals 138, which I didn't put in here. Okay. And again, then you see that picture right there. Okay. So that's nice. Okay. That's nice. And that's a nice connection right there. You see the cover of the film that she's in right there. That's how it hits. 138, her name's Claudia. This film 8.5. It's something related to the director, like it's 8.5. Like, yeah, it was like his 8.5 film or something like that. Something to do with maybe some mini movies involved or something. I don't know. We'll probably look at that. I kind of briefly looked at the films. I didn't really see anything that wowed me, but we'll pull them up again. But man, 8.5 released 100 days. Uh, Look at she dies 100 days before the release anniversary of 8.5, and it's 101 day span death to the release anniversary. The span is including both dates. Okay. And the release date was 1/1. Okay. Like 100, like 101, the release date on 1/1. And she starred in more than 100 films. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is amazing. Right there. Wow. So, I mean, I'm going to ask Google, just so we can know what these films are here. Explain the movie Eight and a Half. Follows a famous film director who suffers from creative block and midlife crisis while trying to make his next move. The film blends reality, memory, and fantasy through a self-referential narrative that reflects the director's inner turmoil. What was Claudia Cardinale's role character in the film Eight and a Half? Okay, so where's she at? Cardinale's character. I don't see her character popping up there. Oh, she was Claudia? She was Claudia. Claudia played Claudia, an actress whom Guido considers for the leading role in his film. Although Claudia's beauty is ideal and her presence dreamlike, Guido realizes her perfection will not suit his film. What? Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense, right? Star of Eight and a Half. Oh, do I gotta spell Eight and a Half? Or do I gotta do that? Well, it says her character was Claudia. And our article says she was in the movie. So I think that we'll go with that. What was Claudia Cardinale's role in The Leopard? Her character's name.
Claudia Cardinale plays Angelica Sadara in The Leopard.
Right? And they let us know that. In our article here as well. I was just, I kind of want to put that in the Gematria calculator as well on the fly here. Let's where there it is right there. So let's put that in the calculator on the fly here too. Look at that. You see how we go on the fly and we land heavy? 100. Okay? 100. That was her role, her character's name in The Leopard. You get the 100 and we're on that slide. And she dies 100 days before the anniversary of the Eight and a Half film release. Isn't that amazing? More than 100 films. Character she plays in The Leopard's name equals 100. And you see that release date for Eight and a Half, 1/1, like 101, like 100, all like one, right? Isn't that amazing? 1963 has been coming up lately as well. Okay, we talked about in a prior video, we talked about the Michael Jordan 63-point game and how Michael Jordan was born in 63. And there was another 63 connection that we were talking about with that video. Shout out to Richard West for mentioning the 63 in the comment as well. One of the comments, I think it was for that, I can't remember the video. Even Michael equals 183. And you see the 138 connection here. So, that Jordan energy, man, always lingering. There's something else to that film, Eight and a Half. They said it refers to the directors I mentioned earlier, like he had a certain amount of films, and then he had like some mini films or some half films, what they were calling half. So I think that's what they said. That's why they titled it 8.5. There's probably more to it. There's probably a connection with 8.5 that I'm missing. You know, you got the number 8, right? Which obviously connects to Donald Trump as well. 88. Trump equals 88. But there's probably more to that 8.5. I was thinking maybe like 85 or something. I didn't really notice an 85 here with this breakdown. But, you know, I can kind of like leave that alone for the moment. Oh, is that it right there? She dies 5 months, 8 days before her birthday. So that is interesting. I just barely caught that. She dies 5 months, 8 days after her birthday. Excuse me. And if you look at it from right to left, it's 85, like 8.5. Okay, so man, that's okay, so that's man. Okay, 5:45 a.m. here in Arizona. That's solid, man. You know, we just had the 138 connection. She was born in 38 as well. Wow, she dies 5 months, 8 days after her birthday. And Pamela Anderson was just trending and she's age 58. Mike Gundy trending age 58. I covered both of those stories, okay? Just briefly scroll back on the video section here. Wow. Look at that right there, okay? Mike Gundy gets fired, Pam Anderson going makeup free, hoping to lead hopefully all women into that way of thinking. But wow. And I had the San Francisco Bay Area earthquake. Look at that interstate that I caught. 580, like 58 right there. Now, Claudia Cardinale, look at her last birthday, the 105th day of the year. Brett James just died in a plane crash 105 days after his birthday. Grammy winning songwriter. Also, the coach of the New York Liberty. The coach parts way with the team. Championship winning coach. She got bounced out by the Phoenix Mercury out of the playoffs. Like, Phoenix, Arizona equals 105, Sandra equals 105, that's her name, and coach equals 105. So look at how this death now connects to all these other stories. I mentioned the Cardi B trending story, Joshua Cardi. There's probably a Arizona Cardinals connection. You got the Joshua Cardi connection with football. Plays for the Rams. That's the same division as the Cardinals. But yeah, there's probably. I looked at the Cardinals last game. I didn't really like. I didn't really notice anything major or anything worth noting. I'll just pull up the Cardinal team there. They're going to be playing the Seahawks today. They're playing the Seahawks today, Thursday. Right? This is 2 days after the death of Claudia Cardinale. Yeah, there's probably more. There's probably something there. So yeah, they play 2 days. They play 2 days after her death, and it's like a special Thursday game, right? That's interesting. You see her right there. Okay, so I'm gonna play this other video now, and I appreciate you if you made it this far. Play this video. The thumbnail hits pretty big there.
Claudia Cardinale is dead at 87. Claudia Cardinale, the legendary Italian actress, has passed away at the age of 87. Born in Tunisia, she rose to international fame with her captivating performances and timeless beauty. Cardinale starred in cinematic masterpieces such as 812, The Leopard, and Once Upon a Time in the West, leaving an
Freaking AI, man. AI, man. 812.
indelible mark on both Italian and global cinema. Her talent, elegance, and charisma made her one of the most celebrated actresses of her generation. She passed peacefully at her home in France, surrounded by her children. Tributes have poured in from fans and world leaders alike, honoring her extraordinary contribution to the world of film. Claudia Cardinale's legacy will live on through her iconic performances, inspiring generations of actors and cinema lovers around the world.
Right? Oh my gosh, I'm tired. It's becoming harder and harder to wake up, y'all. You know what I'm saying? It's like I almost feel better if I get way less sleep. Even though I'm still slightly tired, I almost feel better if I get way less sleep. Sometimes it's like, oh, let me go another hour, hour and a half, and then it's just brutal getting up after that. Not long ago, man, I was fine on 5 hours. All of a sudden, it's like I need more. I need more. So I don't know. Is it a midlife thing? Not sure. They say we need eight hours. Speaking of 8.5 in this film, they say we need about 8 hours, right? But we don't. We can't believe what we're told. We can't believe it. Maybe it's in the food, huh? Even yeah, they said something about her not really being in the spotlight since having a hip surgery. I saw online. Hip surgery's got 146, and that's Donald Trump's birthday, the 14th day of the 6th month. Even hip surgery's got 52, like President, Government, and White House. The Leopard equals 166 in a leap year. Donald Trump's birthday is the 166th day of the year. The Leopard equals 50 like Donald. 49 like Washington. Again, with the 8.5 film. You get those eights when Trump equals 88. You see her full name, including, I guess, her nickname, I guess, Claudia. I just threw the whole thing in there. Claude Josephina Rose Claudia Cardinale, how they listed it. I think it was like Wikipedia. 209, Trump equals 29. There's a lot of Trump connections here. I even see 176 with Cardinale. It's like Donald J. Trump or Donald John Trump, I think, that equals 176. Something like that. Claudia's got 48 like Donald Trump. 138 like Donald Trump. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot, right? And I only entered her name and just in various forms. The Leopard, I put 8.5, and it doesn't translate the half, so it just put 8 right there. I think, did I put 8.5? Yeah, I put 8.5. But interesting, right? Interesting stuff there. Yeah, and there's going to be more to the story, obviously. They just kind of go over a lot of her successes. There's going to be more to the character. I'm not willing to invest all of my time. I think that I just proved that's a script right there. Speaking of actors, amazing Claudia Cardinale Cardi B connection. It's right there in the language. Look at that with her last name. And I almost missed that. And then, the pronunciation, like Kim Kardashian, you get the double K's. Cardinale. Kardashian, and then Cardi B's birthday. Was it less than 2 weeks before Kardashian? Something like that, but I showed that earlier. Amazing. Star of 8.5, and the Leopard dies at 87. Claudia Cardinale. Until next time.